For over 8 months, the world's most powerful military forces pursued a single elusive target. Countless troops spread across a vast nation. Analysts scrutinized data around the clock, and orbiting satellites scanned cities, deserts, rivers, and villages. Drones and reconnaissance aircraft patrolled relentlessly, while agencies like the CIA gathered tips from sources, detainee interviews, and intercepted communications. Every asset, every resource, every technological innovation focused on one figure, once dominant leader who had commanded an entire country with ironclad authority, ruling with intimidation, manipulation, and strategic alliances. That leader, Saddam Hussein, the former ruler of Iraq. Despite overseeing vast armies, luxurious estates, and immense wealth, he had vanished in the chaos following one of history's largest military invasions. No one, neither the invading armies, global intelligence networks, nor even his closest confidants could determine his location. What made this pursuit extraordinary was not simply the act of evasion. History had seen leaders disappear during conflicts before. What was unprecedented was the scale of the hunt. The US and Allied forces controlled the skies, the highways, and major urban centers, backed by a sprawling web of intelligence and unmatched technology. Yet, Saddam slipped through the cracks again and again. Days became weeks, weeks stretched into months, and rumors swirled. Some believed he had fled abroad, others that he had perished amid the chaos, while a few insisted he remained in Iraq, waiting for the right moment to return. To understand how this relentless pursuit began, we must rewind to a pivotal day that reshaped global geopolitics. September 11th, 2001. On that morning, America faced a devastating terrorist attack that would redefine international relations and the nature of modern warfare. Operatives from Al-Qaeda hijacked 4 passenger jets. 2 planes struck the Twin Towers in New York. 1 slammed into the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. And the 4th crashed in Pennsylvania after passengers fought back. In mere hours, nearly 3,000 lives were lost. The world watched in horror, and the United States vowed a response that would define its foreign policy for years to come. President George W. Bush launched the War on Terror, initially targeting the Taliban in Afghanistan, who harbored Al-Qaeda's leader, Osama bin Laden. Over time, Iraq emerged as the next focus. Saddam Hussein, who had ruled Iraq since the 1970s, had already waged devastating wars: the Iran-Iraq conflict of the 1980s and the 1991 invasion of Kuwait, triggering the Gulf War. The world had imposed sanctions and strict monitoring. Yet now, the US raised alarms about Iraq allegedly building weapons of mass destruction, atomic, chemical, or biological, that could threaten global security. These claims sparked international debate. Some urged preemptive action, fearing Saddam could empower extremists or strike directly. Others demanded clear evidence, pointing to prior UN inspections that had found no active nuclear program. Undeterred, the United States rallied allies Britain, Australia, and Poland among them and launched the invasion in March 2003. Allied forces moved swiftly. High-tech jets bombed key targets, while ground troops advanced through the desert to capture strategic locations. Iraqi defenses, though resilient, could not withstand superior tactics and technology. Armored convoys, helicopters, and infantry units pressed forward relentlessly. In mere weeks, Baghdad, the heart of Saddam's rule, stood within reach. But instead of the fierce resistance anticipated, troops found emptiness. Palaces and ministries were deserted. Saddam had fled before their arrival. The iconic image soon emerged in Firdos Square, a towering statue of Saddam being toppled, a symbol broadcast worldwide to signal the regime's fall. Yet, while the statue fell, the man himself remained at large. Coalition forces immediately shifted focus. Locating Saddam was paramount. His freedom threatened to inspire holdouts and attacks against occupying forces. A meticulous intelligence operation commenced. Spies compiled a list of 52 key aides with intimate knowledge of Saddam's movements. To assist soldiers, these profiles were printed on playing cards. Troops carried these decks for recreation, but each glance reinforced faces and names. The Ace of Spades, of course, bore Saddam's portrait. His capture became the ultimate objective. Over the following months, forces raided suspected hideouts, interrogated locals, and scoured the country for clues. Offers of rewards were made. $25 million for Saddam. $15 million each for his sons Houday and Qusay. Initial leads yielded nothing. But eventually, actionable intelligence emerged regarding his sons. Troops encircled a hideout, initiating a fierce battle. Despite calls for surrender, Houday and Qusay resisted, triggering an intense standoff. Hours passed, attempts to force a peaceful resolution failed, and eventually, heavy weapons leveled the structure. Both sons were killed, removing key protectors and advisors, but also severing a link to Saddam himself. Momentum slowed after this operation, but intelligence efforts continued. In September 2003, an audio recording surfaced Saddam's voice, mourning his sons and urging followers to resist. This confirmed he was alive, reigniting the hunt. The bounty increased to $30 million, intensifying tip flow and focus. Interrogators, including Eric Maddox, shifted tactics instead of only high-level targets. They analyzed overlooked angles, mapping Saddam's personal security network. One key lead centered on Tikrit, Saddam's birthplace and loyalty hub. A recurring name among his guards emerged: Mohammed Ibrahim Omar al-Moslet, who had disappeared after the invasion. Family investigations revealed Omar ran a fish operation near Samarra, linking mundane supply chains to potential hideouts, given Saddam's fondness for mazgouv, a local grilled carp specialty. This clue proved crucial. Tracking his movements eventually led to a raid on a Baghdad property where Omar was captured. Omar initially resisted, fearing retribution, but promises of safety and a fresh start broke his silence. Structures appeared empty, but Omar guided them to a concealed pit. Hands emerged, and from it climbed a disheveled man, Saddam Hussein. After 32 weeks, the elusive dictator was finally in custody. The spider hole contained only a pistol, cash, and basic supplies used for anything but survival. Global headlines celebrated the culmination of one of history's most relentless manhunts. Following his capture, Saddam was transported to a secure facility under heavy guard. DNA and dental records confirmed his identity. Initial interrogations revealed his characteristic defiance, yet also a subtle resignation, as he recounted fragments of his evasion while withholding critical details. For the U.S. military, the capture was a major morale boost, signaling the end of his physical threat and challenging insurgent narratives of invincibility. President Bush hailed the operation as a step toward Iraqi freedom and stability. However, Saddam's detention immediately posed legal and ethical challenges. Human rights groups monitored proceedings to ensure fair treatment, while Iraqi citizens demanded justice for crimes committed under his decades-long rule. A special tribunal was formed, blending local law with international standards to ensure legitimacy. By 2004, formal charges were announced: genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity, covering events like the NFL campaign against Kurds and suppression of Shiite uprisings. The 2005 trial unfolded in Baghdad's fortified Green Zone, broadcast live to symbolize transparency. Saddam's courtroom presence was theatrical, interrupting judges, reciting poetry, and portraying himself as the victim of foreign invaders. Prosecutors presented harrowing testimony: villages destroyed by chemical attacks, families executed, and torture in prisons like Abu Ghraib. Defense lawyers highlighted procedural flaws and alleged bias. The trial was tumultuous, yet evidence mounted steadily. In November 2006, Saddam was convicted on multiple counts and sentenced to death. Appeals failed, and on December 30, 2006, he was executed at dawn, witnessed by select officials. Footage later revealed him remaining defiant until the last moment. Reactions were mixed. Jubilation among victims, mourning among loyalists, and global relief paired with debate over capital punishment. Despite this, Iraq's wounds remained. WMD claims were debunked. Post-war inspections revealed no active programs since the 1990s. Critics accused intelligence, failures, and manipulation, with reports suggesting the invasion was driven more by ideological motives and regime change than an actual weapons threat. Casualties were staggering. Thousands of U.S. troops, tens of thousands injured, and over 100,000 Iraqi civilians killed or displaced. Sectarian violence erupted, and militant groups exploited chaos. Reconstruction faced major hurdles. Sabotage, power outages, corruption, and unemployment fueled unrest. Politically, democracy struggled to take root. New governments faced internal conflict and allegations of favoritism. Saddam's capture highlighted a key lesson. Technology alone does not guarantee success. Satellites, drones, and signal intercepts were valuable, but human intelligence, cultural awareness, and trust building proved decisive. The fish farm clue, seemingly trivial, unlocked his hiding place, demonstrating the power of understanding local customs and routines in modern manhunts. This hybrid approach would influence later operations. Reflecting on Saddam's life offers insights into power and its fragility. Born in 1937 in Tikrit to a poor family, he rose through the Ba'ath Party ranks through cunning, ruthlessness, and ambition. Seizing the presidency in 1979, he consolidated control, eliminated rivals, and cultivated a personality cult. Wars expanded ambitions but drained resources. Even amid sanctions after the Kuwait invasion, he maintained opulence, while ordinary Iraqis suffered. His evasion after 2003 displayed adaptability, moving between safe houses, relying on tribal loyalty, and using couriers to avoid detection. Reports later noted his engagement in writing and gardening, a stark contrast to his former life of luxury. The saga reshaped global counterterrorism, emphasizing bounties, cultural intelligence, and human insight alongside technological might. It spurred debates on intervention, occupation, and ethical responsibility. Iraq continues to struggle with governance, foreign influence, and sporadic militancy. Saddam's capture closed one chapter, but the story of his fall and its consequences continues to inform history. Intelligence and strategy lessons for generations to come. If you followed this incredible journey, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more untold stories from the shadows of power, and share it so others can witness history unfold. Your support keeps these narratives alive. The capture of Saddam Hussein on December 13, 2003, marked a pivotal moment in modern history, representing not only the culmination of a high-stakes military and intelligence operation, but also the beginning of a long and complex period of consequences for Iraq, the Middle East, and global geopolitics. Saddam's arrest was the result of an unprecedented combination of advanced surveillance technology, human intelligence, and meticulous planning. It symbolized the fall of a dictatorial regime that had ruled Iraq for decades through fear, military power, and political manipulation. The operation demonstrated the capability of the United States and its allies to locate and neutralize even the most elusive figures, reinforcing the perception of American global reach and operational sophistication. Yet, while the immediate military success was celebrated in the West, the capture's broader implications revealed layers of strategic, political, and humanitarian complexity. Globally, the operation had significant symbolic and practical ramifications. In Western countries, particularly the United States and the United Kingdom, the capture of Saddam was portrayed as a validation of preemptive military strategies in the post-9/11 era. It reinforced the war on terror narrative, framing Iraq as a theater where tyranny and potential threats to global security could be neutralized decisively. Analysts in Europe and North America largely viewed Saddam's removal as unnecessary, though controversial, step in containing regional instability and preventing the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. Media coverage highlighted the sophistication of intelligence networks. Drones and surveillance technology, presenting the operation as an example of how modern warfare and espionage could decisively influence political outcomes. Yet, skepticism also emerged, particularly regarding the intelligence claims about Iraq's alleged weapons programs, which were later proven to be largely inaccurate, raising questions about the justification for the invasion. Within Iraq, the immediate effects were deeply transformative. Saddam's arrest created a power vacuum that destabilized the country politically and socially. His regime had been highly centralized, relying on fear, tribal loyalty, and security networks to maintain control. With his removal, sectarian divisions, long suppressed under his rule, rapidly resurfaced. Sunni, Shia, and Kurdish communities each sought to assert influence, often leading to violent clashes and insurgencies. The collapse of existing governmental structures led to widespread insecurity, creating fertile ground for extremist groups, including Al-Qaeda in Iraq, to emerge. Economically, the country faced severe disruption. Infrastructure was damaged, public services collapsed, and unemployment soared, creating a humanitarian crisis. The capture of Saddam did not immediately translate into stability. Instead, it highlighted the challenges of rebuilding a fractured nation after decades of dictatorship and war. The reaction across the Muslim world was diverse and complex. Many countries condemned the invasion and subsequent occupation as violations of international law, expressing concerns over the precedent set by unilateral military action. Saddam was still seen by some as a symbol of resistance against Western intervention, despite his record of oppression. Arab and Islamic media debated the morality and legality of the war, often portraying the United States as an occupying power exploiting Iraq for strategic and economic interests. Simultaneously, voices within the region acknowledged the brutality of Saddam's regime, particularly the repression of the Shia population and the use of chemical weapons against Kurdish civilians. This dual perception of a tyrant and of a victim of foreign intervention created a polarized narrative that shaped regional discourse for years. In the United States, Saddam's capture reinforced the perception of military efficacy and global supremacy, offering political leverage for the Bush administration. It was framed as a victory for justice, demonstrating that even the most elusive threats could be brought to account. Public opinion, initially supportive of the war on terror, experienced temporary uplift. However, as insurgency, sectarian violence, and political instability grew, critiques of strategic planning and post-invasion management intensified. Questions about the legitimacy of the war, the failure to find weapons of mass destruction, and the human cost of the invasion dominated debates in media and politics, underscoring that tactical victories do not automatically translate into strategic success. Beyond Iraq and the Muslim world, the event influenced broader global security policy. Nations reevaluated intelligence cooperation, counterinsurgency doctrines, and the use of preemptive military strategies. The operation highlighted the importance of combining human intelligence with technological surveillance, emphasizing that locating and capturing high-value targets requires multi-layered adaptive approaches. International law scholars and policy analysts also debated the implications of targeted regime removal, occupation, and the role of multinational coalitions in enforcing justice, shaping future military interventions and global norms. In conclusion, the capture of Saddam Hussein was a milestone of modern intelligence and military capability, emblematic of the intricate interplay between technology, strategy, and human ingenuity. Its consequences were immediate and long-lasting. Iraq entered a prolonged period of instability. The Muslim world grappled with competing narratives of oppression and foreign intervention, and the United States faced both validation and scrutiny of its post-9/11 policies. Globally, the event underscored the complexities of regime change, demonstrating that removing a dictator is only the first step in a long, unpredictable process of nation-building and regional stabilization. The lessons from Saddam's capture continue to inform military strategy, intelligence operations, and the delicate balance between power projection and ethical governance in international affairs. Disclaimer: this content is intended solely for educational and historical purposes. It does not endorse or glorify violence, warfare, or political agendas. All information is drawn from public records, verified reports, and analysis presented without bias.